It is a skill that is related to using the remaining senses to establish position in and in relation to significant object in the environment. Generally, we use vision and hearing together to gain the information about the surrounding, and based on this information we understand the details of our environment. Orientation is knowing where you are and being able to plan how to go to where you want to be. In the absence of vision and hearing, one has to depend upon the remaining senses to be able to move around freely. The sense of touch, smell and taste can all be used to help in recognizing the position in relation to the obstacles and landmark around in the environment. Mobility is defined as action of traveling, going from one place to another safely and freely. To be mobile, a person should be able to gather and use sufficient information from the environment to avoid hazards and to reach the destination safely. When planning an orientation and mobility program for children, the focus of training may include sensory awareness, gaining information about the world through hearing, smell, touch and movement. The second one is spatial concept, realizing that object exists even if not heard or felt, and understanding the relationships that exist between objects in the environment. The third one is searching skills, locating items or places efficiently. The fourth one is independent movement, such as crawling, rolling, walking and so on. Then the fifth one is sighted guide. It means using another person to aid in a travel. Then next one is protective techniques, specific skills which provide added protection in unfamiliar areas. The next one is cane skills. It means use of various cane techniques to clear one's path or to locate objects along the way. The process of gathering, recognizing and interpreting sensory information helps in meaningful and useful concept development. When a child cannot access his world efficiently through his vision and or hearing, he needs to learn to use his other senses more effectively. The orientation and mobility instruction provides students who are deafblind with a set of fundamental skills to use residual visual, auditory and other sensory information to understand his or her environment. Orientation and mobility instruction provides opportunities and skills that can broaden the student's awareness of the environment, resulting in increased motivation, independence and safety. At the same time, the orientation and mobility instruction for individuals who are deafblind is designed to teach them to move as independently and as purposefully as they are able. For some children who are deafblind, it is reasonable and desirable to expect that they will move about independently in both indoor and outdoor environments. This independence may mean using the white cane to cross streets successfully and learning to use public transport. For others, orientation and mobility instruction will provide the skills necessary to allow independent movement within the classroom or within the home. At a more basic level, and for children with limited motor capabilities, increased independence will mean that they have better developed residual senses and can more fully understand and interpret information from their environments. They may come to understand where an object is located and where the object is in relation to their own bodies. They will have the ability to move with purpose, perhaps to extend an arm or roll to obtain that object. While outcomes and expectations may be different for the student who is deafblind. The instruction is similar to that for a child with only visual impairment or blindness. The most important adaptations are those related to communication. The orientation and mobility instructor will need to ensure that the instructions are given to the student in his or her primary language. This may require the support from the teacher and the development of touch cues or object cues. Certain accommodations that enable the student to interact with the public also need to be developed, such as using communication cards for students who want to travel using the public transport, go to the market, restaurant or any other place in the community. For some children, the lack of auditory and visual input may have severely limited opportunities to learn about his or her environment and to develop the language to talk about it. Orientation and mobility instruction must often be augmented by hands-on learning to make up for the child's lack of prior experiences. Language instruction is an integral part of any orientation and mobility training experiences. Developing ways to communicate present the most significant challenge for children who are deafblind. Communication issues must be addressed in every aspect of instruction. For example, planning for instruction in areas such as concept development must take into account that although the child may be able to perceive the shape of the dining room within the school, he or she may need to be taught the specific language to enable the child to understand. Children who are deafblind use a variety of communication methods including tactile sign language, speech, gesture, finger spelling, augmentative devices, pictures, flashcards, objects, body movements, behavior and facial expressions. Instruction strategies must incorporate the child's primary communication methods. Motor development includes both gross and fine motor skills and focuses on developing and or enhancing the student's motor abilities. These skills involve large muscle movements such as walking or running, as well as the finer skills associated with the hands and wrist movement. The concept development is closely linked to general cognitive development. It involves the understanding of sizes, shapes and functions of objects as well as spatial and positional relationship. It includes the awareness and knowledge of one's own and another body and understanding of the body parts, of their movement, capabilities and of body part relationship. The concept development also incorporates an understanding of and knowledge about the environment. Sensory development optimizes the student's ability to utilize a sense of residual sight and hearing as well as the tactile, olfactory and kinesthetic senses. Most students who are deafblind have a residual hearing and or a sight, and instruction can be provided to help them learn to use this sensory information to understand and interpret information they are gathering through their senses. It is important to teach a child to interpret sensory information assisting him or her to use this information for purposeful movement. Mobility skills incorporate those orientation and mobility techniques that promote movement through the environment with safety and ease. These skills include walking with another person, that means guided travel, self-protection skills, and cane travel. For young children, these mobility skills will include early purposeful movement such as crawling and walking. In the absence of vision, a person can orient himself by his sense of touch. Touch is essential for concept formation. It is very important for the child with deaf blindness to get used to various sensations. Tactual skills include experience with a wide variety of shapes, sizes and texture. Children with deaf blindness need to learn use their hands and feet to explore the environment. Hands can be used to understand spatial relationship about texture, temperature and weight. At the same time, hands can be used to trial along any object for mobility. Through hands, one can understand the diversity of object. The feet can be used to understand the position, various landmarks on pathways and feel changes in surface texture, slope and so on as he moves about in the environment. Changes in the temperature on face or a body can provide orientation information. The touch has its limitation because large objects and environment and distant objects in general are beyond tactile exploration. Smell is useful for orientation both indoor and outdoor. Although there has been little research in the area of olfactory awareness, it is an important sense relation to orientation and mobility. Information gained through the sense of smell may be very beneficial in obtaining feedback regarding the immediate environment. Many physical locations can be easily identified through smell, such as a vegetable market, petrol pump, fish market. The smell can be useful as a clue for direction also. Smell from kitchen, fish market or flower shop. Typical odor from a particular place can be used as a landmark, which also helps in orientation and mobility. When a child with deaf blindness is very young, it is often difficult to adequately assess child's vision. Therefore, it is important to work with a child to develop whatever ability child has in this area. To find out what you know now about the child vision, observe for what he or she is able to see, from how far child can see. How does he or she use his sight to get around the house or outside? What other way could the child learn to use his or her vision while moving about? Pair several sensory cues when working with a child. Choose toys which have differing textures, colors and if possible toys that produce a sound. Present object to the child from varying position, such as in front of him or her, from above, below or from either, that is left or right side. Observe if the child responds to visual stimuli equally regardless of its position. Encourage the action paired with the use of vision. If it appears that the child is able to see an object such as a ball, when holding the object within his or her search and encourage to reach for it. Communicate to the child about what is around him or her, both indoor and outdoors. It is important to name, sign and then to describe object and their function if he or she can understand this additional information. Exploration is an important ingredient in helping the child to understand his or her world. If the child is able to sign, have him or her tell what he or she sees. Ask the child to identify an object which is within the child's reach, later gradually expand this area to include objects in the room, in the house and ultimately outdoors. The child who has a begin independent movement should be encouraged to use his or her remaining vision. Developing an accurate body image, it is essential that the child develops an awareness of self independent of others or his or her environment. Although these occurs naturally for sighted and hearing infants and toddlers, it may not be so easy for a child with deaf blindness. At the same time, assist the child in forming an accurate body image or body awareness through many activities or games. Bathing time is an excellent opportunity to begin working on naming body parts. For an example, stroke the child, name a specific body part and if the appropriate pair it with a movement. For an example, say wash your hand and then move his hand. Likewise, we have to give the activity to the child. When dressing the child, describe what is happening and what he will do to assist. It means to instruct the child like this: time to put on your shirt, here it comes, over your head, push your head through, oh, there is your head, okay, now bend your arm and push it, good, where is your other arm, push it through, oh, look, your shirt is on. Through a variety of games and activities, assist the child in building a realistic body image. He will come to understand that he has a body, has size and weight, takes up space, grows and changes, and has a different parts that do different things. This is followed by the realization that everyone has a body like himself. The child needs to know that he has a different body parts, each having different name, and he should be able to associate movement and function with the parts of body. Children with deaf blindness do not get opportunity to learn by watching movement of other people, and so it is necessary to teach children different movements by manipulating physically. Awareness of movements will enable the child to explore his environment in many ways. Once the child develops awareness of his own body, he needs to learn to use his body as a reference point to orient himself in a space. For an example, a child standing near the kitchen may turn and go towards door where the mother is standing. In the next stage, it is important to be able to generalize his understanding of concept related to him. He needs to understand the spatial relationship by relating an object or a person to him. For instance, dog is in front of me, doll is on my lap. Like that, we have to give the activity to the children. For children with deaf blindness, these concepts are much more difficult to understand and need to be taught. Development of motor skills helps a person to move around. It is a basis for mobility skills. Once a child learns to maintain balance, all balance activities need to be taught in sequential steps so that he is prepared to avoid hazards in the path. A child with deaf blindness does not learn by observation, and so they need to be trained on proper posture and gait. Dropped head position or a clumsy gait affects the way the child walks. One has to use physical prompt to train the child for correct posture and gait. It is also necessary to have means of communication so that the child understands. The child with deaf blindness may need non-verbal mode of communication such as physical prompt, modeling or sign language. Some children may need objects, pictures, drawing, flashcards, symbols, braille cards as a communication system. Once the child with deaf blindness learn to walk independently, there are a number of orientation mobility techniques that can be taught to the child. It includes the protective techniques, trailing techniques, sighted aid techniques, cane techniques. Even in the familiar surrounding, there are many hazards and obstacles and they may be hurt a person. Protective techniques helps a person to be safe. One uses it when he is unsure and does not want to walk into an unsafe situation such as open table drawer, closed door and so on. There are two protective techniques are there. One is upper arm techniques and another one is lower arm techniques. The arms is raised to shoulder height, forearm is held across in front of the face. Hand is turned so that palm faces away from the person. This technique protects the upper body around the chest and head. It can be used for protecting from open door, sharp wall curves, cupboards, hanging objects, tree branches and so on. The arm is fully extended and moved to the middle of the body. Palm faces the body and the arm is held in front of the body. This technique protects the lower part of the body near waist level. Can be used to protect against or to locate chairs, table, cot, wash basin, kitchen platform or other small obstacles. In these techniques, hands are used like a pummer. It helps in learning if there is any obstacles in the immediate environment. This technique requires a lot of coordination. Many children with deaf blind have problem with the coordination. So, the trainer needs to think of adapted positions keeping in mind child's abilities. Trailing can be used to locate an object or destination. Back of the hand should be used to trial wall or other similar furnitures or object. Extend arm that is closer to the wall or object. Walk by trailing fingers along the surface towards destination. Trailing provides tactual information and enables to detect landmark or to find out the doorways. Children with deaf blindness may demonstrate variation in trailing techniques including modification in arm and hand positioning depending on his age and development of motor skills. The visual impaired person typically holds guide's arm just above the elbow and maintain a position one half step behind the guide. Interpret the guide's body movements such as turns, steps up, steps down as they travel from one place to another. If the traveler is a child, modified grasps at lower level such as at the wrist or extended finger of guide may be used depending on the child's height and that of the guide. At the initial stages, the child may need help to initiate and maintain the grasp. A cane can be introduced to a child if he or she can hold cane, can maintain balance and can walk. To differentiate a person with a deaf blindness from one who is visually impaired, look at their canes. The cane of the deafblind person is red and white, whereas the cane of the visually impaired person is white. The length of the cane should be determined by the height of the user. It should reach breastbone when held vertically. Hold cane in dominant hand. Thumb should be on the front of the top with the forefinger fully extended. Second, the finger should be relaxed. Elbow slightly is bent near the body. A cane should always be in line with the middle of the body and in front of the traveler. While using the cane, wrist movement, the cane is moved from side to side by flexion and extension of wrist with the tip touching. The ground in each movement, the arm should be moved. It should be durable, low weight, strong and resilient, easily available and easily repairable. The aim of training children with deafblindness in orientation and mobility is to create positive experience of movements, increase interest in and ability for exploring the environment and independent mobility. Training in orientation and mobility has emphasizes on movement and exploration that assists the child to be independent, which is the ultimate goal of the education. So, dear students, I hope you understood the orientation and mobility and educational needs of children with deaf blindness. Thank you.